This is important to note because using an effect as an artist is one of the most important parts of creating interesting electronic music. Even simple delays and reverb and echo, they're pivotal points of making your synths and your bass lines sound really unique and engaging. They can also be a crutch. They can also be very hard to control. They can be very hard to use effectively. But we're going to go into a couple of techniques today that should simplify things and help you put your focus where it should be when it comes to delays and echoes specifically. I'll just straight up say delays are one of my favorite things to use. And just adding a simple delay on a synth can add so much dimension. Even if your sound isn't that interesting, throwing a delay on is really, really fun because it enhances it so much. If you listen to this melody that I've got going on here, it's simple. It's 4 notes. Okay? It's nice. But as soon as we add delay, it adds so much to your song. It can be hard for an artist to stay disciplined enough to use these effectively. When do you use delay? Why do you use delay? So let's look at delays and see how we can streamline it and make it the most effective effect that you can use on a synth. In this particular case, I'm just using Ableton's stock delay. In fact, I'm using it with most of the presets that come on it. So for example, let's just look at this down below. Okay, first of all, it says left and right. Those are your left and your right channels from your stereo output. These numbers here represent the timing of the delay. So the 1 is every single bar in your sequence. 2 is on halves, 3 is a triplicate, and so on. As you change this, this changes the timing of your delays. Let's listen to each of these. Very quick. Let's double time it. And the triplicate. Okay. Now it depends on your style, it depends on your mood, it depends on the sound, on what timing you want to go with. Also, it's important to note feedback and your dry wet. Those are the 2 other controls that you really want to focus on. Essentially what feedback is just as it sounds, as you've heard, feedback loops. Okay, feedback is the amount of the delay you're going to allow back into the delay plugin. The higher the feedback, the more feedback your delay is going to get, which means you add delay on the delay, on the delay, on the delay, on the delay, and so on. It's just like if you're at a concert and somebody holds the microphone too close to the speaker. The sound is going in the microphone, out the speaker, in the microphone, out the speaker, and it can do it so fast you get that high-pitched ringing. That's essentially what we're emulating here. But in delay, for example, the feedback is capped at 95%. So it will always dissipate over time. You don't have to worry about damaging your eardrums. So let's listen to this with low feedback. It's gone. Let's listen to it with high feedback. You can hear the delay continues to feed back inside itself. Now, on top of this, the other setting you want to pay attention to is your dry wet. Essentially, how much of the original sound is coming through versus how much of the effect, the wet, is going to be coming through into your channel. If we turn it all the way down, essentially there's no delay. If we turn it all the way up, this is where some interesting things start to happen. I use this a lot. I use it a lot because you can control it in a way to add ambience and add atmosphere. And some of my best songs, some of the most interesting leads have gone into this psychedelic, trippy state. That's where real mind-bending effects can come from. But you have to think outside the box a little bit. Now, I always warn artists about their delays because as we just saw, this melody line now has a life of its own. It's interesting, it's unique, it's cool. And it's easy to start adding delay on everything. But with delay, we want to focus on the sounds that need it the most. Use it subtly. Don't use it on everything just because it makes it sound interesting. Find the sounds that you want to stand out and use it there. One common thing that happens with new artists is that they tend to use delay on everything because it sounds so interesting. When really, if you use it on too much, you're only going to make a messy mix and it's going to be harder to fix later on. So find those sounds, the key elements, and use it there. This applies to almost all effects. The other thing to pay attention to on the delay here is this right in the middle. Now this may look familiar. It actually looks like an EQ. And that's because it is. This is actually an EQ built within delay. Now, it doesn't EQ the sound. What it does is it is the EQ for the sounds that are being affected. That being said, the higher this goes up, you're only going to affect the higher frequencies here. If you turn this all the way down, you will only add delay to the sounds within that EQ range. This is important to note because the frequencies that you're affecting will affect other frequencies in that range. So if you're adding delay in a low frequency to other low frequency delays, it can get really messy really fast. So in a sound like this, which is a relatively high frequency sound, I want to only affect the higher frequencies. That leaves the lower end clean and clear. The less mud you have, the better your mix down is going to be in the long run. So pay attention to this. Pay attention to only the sounds that you need to be affected. So here's where I think it should be. Let's take a listen. You can hear it's a little tinny, it's a little high frequencies. I would move it down a little bit, get a little bit of that mid-range in there. Okay? And if we were to only do the low end, completely changes the sound. Okay, so pay attention to this. Pay attention to what you want to be affected. Now, something else that I've really enjoyed as of late is based on these principles, but instead of delay, I'm going to throw an echo on. Now, echo is similar, and it's got a lot of the same controls, but I'm going to show you a crazy technique, especially if you like certain trippy sounds in techno, progressive, and trance. If you want to really come up with some crazy evolution in your sounds, take note of what we just talked about in delay and use it on echo and watch what happens here. The first thing that I'm going to do is look at our left and our right channel here. You can see that they're synced. They're linked in between to an eighth note. I'm going to unlink this. This is where the magic starts to happen. And I'm going to change the timing of my left channel, and I'm going to change the timing of my right channel. Immediately, our echo is going to move at different timings, okay? Let's listen to this. Okay, you can hear the right side is echoing longer because of our timing. But we're going to get crazy with this. Now here's where it gets interesting. We've got our left and our right channels at different timings. What we're going to do is we're going to really play with the feedback. Now keep in mind what I talked about with the delay. It caps out at 95%, so it's always dissipating. With echo, there's no restriction, which means we can push it past 100%. This gets crazy. Let's push the feedback right up and push it past 100. As soon as it crosses 100, it will always feed back into itself, layering delay on delay on delay, essentially changing the sound forever. Now, as the song runs out here, we're going to do something crazy. Listen to it folding on itself, growing and evolving. With that sound, what we can do is change the timing of our right and our left channel. Listen to this. It's taking the sound that's looping through it and adjusting the timing, which gives it this crazy effect. It's still going on itself. Listen to the left and the right channel changing. Think of the potential in taking a simple sound like this melody and evolving it over 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Let that run through a whole song and automate those timings and the feedback to change over time. You now have a sound that carries on and changes on its own throughout your entire track. This is one of the most powerful delay and echo tools I've found in the recent years. Play with it. Watch your eardrums. Careful on that feedback because it can do some damage if you push it too hard. It can break your speakers. It can also break your ears. So be very careful with it. Pay attention to it. That's where a lot of distortion and ear trauma comes from. So pay attention. Anyways, let's see what you can do with that. Okay, I hope it's a powerful tool in your tool belt and it helps you take your music to the next level. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.